It's Thanksgiving here in Canada, which means there's no school. So, I'm not sure about the US, but if you guys have experienced the flying ghost turkey, grab a blanket, turn off your lights for 3 Thanksgiving ghost stories. Thanksgiving Day Ghost. A few years ago, I was at my parents' home for a family dinner on Thanksgiving Day. This is the house I grew up in, and have never experienced anything paranormal. What happened to me this day was very surprising, and still bothers me to this day. I spent the early part of the day helping my mother in the kitchen preparing dinner. We were laughing and talking, and looking forward to sitting down to eat with the whole family. While making pumpkin pies, my mother needed a break from the heat of the kitchen and went into the living room to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I stayed in the kitchen and continued to work. While making the pies, I needed to go to the pantry to get some ingredients. The pantry is located down a short hallway connecting the kitchen with the back of the house. I grabbed the items I needed and headed back to the kitchen. I was almost back to the kitchen when I remembered that I forgot to grab something and quickly pivoted around to head back to the pantry. To my shock, there was a man standing near the area I was just in. It was about 2 to 3 seconds, even though it felt like forever, and then he was gone. I have never seen this man before, but I can remember he was wearing overalls and a hat. The most disturbing thing for me was it seemed as though he reacted to me. It was like he was either shocked that I saw him, or he was shocked to see me. After seeing this man, I decided not to tell my mother or my father. It wasn't until months later I finally felt comfortable enough to tell my mom about it. She was interested, but she never said anything, and never had anything unusual happen to her in the 35 years she lived in that house. I know what I saw. I know he was there. My question is why? Who is he? Why did I see him? In my 28 years of living and now visiting my childhood home, I have so many great memories. But the 2 to 3 seconds on that Thanksgiving Day seems to be burned into my mind more than anything else I've experienced in the house. My Cousin's Doppelganger. Some years ago, when I was roughly 9 or 10 years old, I'm 28 now, my family and I were visiting relatives for Thanksgiving at their home about 2 hours from where we lived. We had been to her house many times in the past, and I never had any sort of paranormal experiences before. There were quite a few relatives staying at their house, and so was my cousin, who was 2 years older than me. My cousin and myself were staying in an extra bedroom in the basement that had a couple beds in it. We went to sleep, and I woke up at some time in the middle of the night for no reason at all. I sat up and was looking around the room, and I noticed a small amount of green light coming into the bedroom from under the closet door across the room. I hadn't noticed any light there before when we were going to bed, but it didn't really concern me much at the time. I rolled back over and tried to go back to sleep. After a few minutes of trying to fall back asleep, I suddenly got a feeling that someone was watching me, or that someone was standing close by. I don't know why I had this feeling, but I just did. I rolled onto my back and opened my eyes, and then that's when I saw it. A figure standing over me. At first, I just saw a shape, but as my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I realized it looked exactly like my cousin. Was it him? It sort of annoyed me, so I asked him what he wanted, but he didn't say anything or even move. He just continued to stand there and stare at me with a blank expression on his face. At this point, I got very angry and yelled at him, "What do you want?" and attempted to push him away from me, but my hands passed straight through him. At the same time, I heard my cousin grunt and move in his bed across the room, so I looked over and saw my cousin still in bed. I looked back to where the figure was standing and it was gone. Some people say they can feel the presence and feel like the spirit is either, sad, happy, angry, whatever feeling it might be, etc. But I didn't feel any of that. The only thing I felt was terror. I honestly don't know if it wanted to hurt me or anything like that. Needless to say, I didn't get much sleep the rest of the night. When morning came, I told my cousin about it, and he said he has seen and heard strange things in the house, but nothing like that. I told my aunt and uncle about what I saw the next morning, and they didn't really say anything. They just basically shrugged it off. But what was strange is they didn't say I was imagining things or anything like that. It seemed like they knew. They know something. They just changed the subject and pretended I didn't even say anything. About a year later, my aunt and uncle moved to a different town, and that house was demolished. In years since, my cousin has told me about many paranormal encounters he's had, and makes me wonder if there's some kind of a spirit that's attached to him. If anyone has any input on this, please let me know. It's been bothering me for a long time now, and any ideas you guys have would be appreciated. I'll read all the comments. Thank you guys again. Hope you guys have a good day. Another haunted music box. My father bought a music box for my mother 20 years ago. He was on a business trip to Denver, Colorado, and bought one for her and one for me for Christmas time. Hers is a blue Merlin-style magician that plays music of the night from Phantom of the Opera. My mother was never a Phantom fan, and she would never wound a music box. It basically sat on a shelf hung on the far wall of the living room, away from general traffic. 13 years ago, it was about Thanksgiving time. The whole family was home. My brother was home from the Navy, my husband and I and our oldest son, and new 1 month old. My mother, brother, and oldest son were all in the kitchen. My husband was back in a bedroom, and I was sitting on the couch with the baby in the living room, about 15 feet from the music box. Suddenly, it started playing. I thought it was a spring that had been wound too tight and just let loose, so I put the baby in his carrier and walked over and picked up the figure. The music box workings are in a clear plastic box in the base. The key wasn't moving at all, the drum wasn't moving at all, and the spring was completely slack. The song played, even with it in my hand, for 3 full minutes and then stopped. We all thought it was very strange, but shrugged it off. My mother passed away in October 2011. Last year, at Christmas, actually, on Christmas Eve, it went off again. We were all in the kitchen, at least 20 feet away from it. This time, my brother walked over to pick it up and brought it over for all of us to see and see if it was moving at all. It played a little longer, and then I got frustrated with it, looked up at the ceiling and said, "What?" It immediately stopped. Playtime was 2 minutes and 3 seconds, not the full 3 minutes the first time was. Yesterday, I pulled into my driveway, my husband holding the music box in the front door, and he greeted me. It started playing exactly 3 minutes before I pulled into the driveway and stopped as my car pulled up to a stop in front of the garage. Again, no movement from the music box, mechanical workings, and I've taken the figure apart to see if there was an electrical component that might be causing it, But the figure is hollow, with no electronics.